Good morning, Faith Community Church. I'm going to be bringing you a small devotional on Luke 20. Luke 20 starts with Jesus' authority being called into question. The religious leaders wanted to arrest Jesus and convict him, but they did not know how to do it successfully. During the Passover, the population of Jerusalem tripled during the feast, and Jesus was popular with the people. And it was a volatile situation, and they had to find evidence that was sufficient to declare him guilty. Judas had already done his job and gone to them. So Jesus already told the 12 before that in chapter 9 to expect conflict and suffering when they arrive in the holy city. The Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be slain, and be raised the third day, according to Luke 9. Jesus knew fully what was coming, and he was not afraid. In this chapter, we'll meet three groups of religious leaders and witness their conflict with Jesus. They challenged him because he had cleansed the temple and called them thieves. They tried to catch him in his words so they could trump up some charge against him and have him arrested as the enemy of the state. Their approach was so hypocritical. They did not want to know the truth. They just wanted to have some accusation so he could be convicted. Luke 21:7 shows how Jesus changes everything around, and instead of answering the question, he started questioning them. And the first question that he asked them is, what about John the Baptist? And chapter 20, verses 1, it says, "One day, as he was teaching the people in the temple complex and proclaiming the good news, the chief priest and the scribes with the elders came up and said to him, 'Tell us, by what authority are you doing these things? Who is it who gave you this authority?' He answered them, 'I will also ask you a question. Tell me, was the baptism of John from heaven or from man?' They discussed it among themselves. 'If we say from heaven,' he will say, 'why didn't you believe him?' But if we say from man, all the people will stone us because they are convinced that John was a prophet.' So they answered that they did not know its origin. And Jesus said to them, 'Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things.'" But there was more to this series of questions than mere guile. The word translated rejected in Luke 9:22 and also in Luke 21:7 means to reject after investigation. And that's exactly what they were trying to do. They were trying to get some answers from Jesus so he could get convicted. But they were not interested in believing the truth. They were going to investigate, but they were not interested in believing. It was required that the Jews carefully examine the Passover lambs from the 10th day to the 14th day to make sure that they had no blemish, according to Exodus 12:1-6. Jesus Christ, the Lamb of God, according to John 1:29, was watched and tested by his enemies during that final week. And yet, in spite of what they saw and learned, they rejected him. However, Jesus was also examining them. For as they questioned him, he questioned them, and their response revealed the ignorance, hatred, and unbelief of their heart. And again, as we already saw it on the very first passage, he questioned them about John the Baptist, and he couldn't come up with an answer. And he knew that they were trapped in their own accusations. But also Jesus questioned them about Caesar, questioned them about Moses, and questioned them about David. And we're going to close up by just looking at what he said and what he asked about David and verses 41-44. The question about the Messiah. Then he said to them, "How can they say that the Messiah is the son of David? For David himself said in the book of Psalms, 'The Lord declared to my Lord, Sit on my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. David calls him Lord. How then can the Messiah be his son? Obviously, they didn't want to know the truth. And they believe in Abraham, they believe in David, they believe in Jacob, they believe in Isaac, but they were not interested in knowing the truth. So God is revealing his authority here on the first passage and on the last one. Both passages, basically, Jesus is saying, I am the Messiah, and you guys are rejecting me because you're either ignorant or you don't want to know the truth. And when we questioning the whole chapter, one of the things that we might have in mind is, how are we responding to Jesus? The priest and the Pharisees didn't want to know the truth. They just wanted to have some accusations against Jesus and be able to convict him and take him to the cross. He was going to die, but he was going to be resurrected on the third day. They knew that about the Messiah, but they didn't want to believe in him. So what is our response to Jesus? How are we going to respond to him? As we read the Bible, many people come into questioning or trying to find out things that they can throw against Christianity instead of trying to figure out who Jesus is. God, in his mercy, sent his son to die on the cross for us, and that was the Messiah. The Messiah came, but he knew that he was going to pay the price, the penalty of death. At the end, our response should be without ignorance, without hatred, but with belief. Jesus was able to deflect all these questions that they had. He defended his authority, he destroyed their strategy, he demolished their theology, he declared his deity, and he denounced their hypocrisy. As you can see, there are so many people in our world that don't want anything to do with Christianity. All they want to do is throw dirt on Christianity, and their motivation to read the Bible is with hypocritical insight. So as we close this chapter, the question is, how are we responding to Jesus? Who are we saying is the Son of God? Are we going to be like the Pharisees and the scribes and the chief priests and the elders that only reveal their ignorance, their hatred, and their unbelief? I hope that as we study this chapter, we can understand who Jesus is and his purpose for all of us.